Hello everyone and welcome back to the second video of Use Case Manager app. In the first video, we had covered Use Case Explorer, where we saw how to filter rules based on multiple parameters. We also saw how rules as well as offenses can be mapped to MITRE ATT&CK framework. In this video, we will discuss on how Use Case Manager can be used for QRadar tuning. Once we click on Tuning Home, you can see the number of open offenses, the number of active offenses, and also a graph showing offense creation trend. We can also see tuning findings, but we will come to it at latter part of this video. From a QRadar point of view, if we consider tuning of security use cases, we should be looking at rules which are generating the maximum number of offenses. This is exactly what we can find out by just a click of a button. We do not need to write cryptic queries to get this information. For this, we'll click on the first option, that is tune most active rules based on offense count. On this screen, we will change our time range option and we'll make it past month. On the right hand side, we see four graphs. The first graph shows offenses by rule. The pie chart shows offense distribution in terms of percentage of number of offenses triggered per rule. We can see there are two rules for which the offense triggered were 10% and 5% respectively. On the second graph, we can see offenses by category and rule. If you look at the x-axis, you will see the different categories mentioned. If you hover your mouse on top of the content, you will see the rule name for which the offenses were created. On the third graph, we can see the trend of offense generation based on time. Here the x-axis represents the time. If you click on legend, you will see different rules. So here are two rules. The fourth graph shows the number of events attached to the rule. If the number of events attached is too high, you may revisit the rule and tune it. If you scroll down, you may see a list of noisy rules. As we know, these are noisy rules. We should also be able to edit these rules. For that, click on a rule and then you can click on investigate. This takes you to the modern view of the rules that we had discussed in the first video of Use Case Manager app. But here, you not only analyze the rule, but also review the offenses generated, modify the threshold, and review the custom properties used. So for that, you can click and you will see that there are two offenses that are generated. Once you click, you will see the thresholds that are mentioned. So here the threshold is 10 and 5. You can very well change it in the rule wizard. And the last option is about the custom properties. Here the custom property used is the username. Here we see two graphs. The first one is a pie chart showing distribution of CR events. Below you can also see the list of noisy rules based on the CR events. On the right, the graph shows the events by categories. Here too, if you want to investigate a noisy rule, you can click on that rule and then click on the investigate button. Till now, we have seen two options where rules were tuned based on the number of offenses and the number of CR events generated. Now, the third option is to tune the rules based on network hierarchy. After installing QRadar, one of the quintessential steps is to define the network hierarchy. Here we define which IP addresses or IP range belongs to which group. This helps us to implement security use cases efficiently. The events have a source and destination IP address, and flow also has something called as direction. This helps us understand from where the attack originated and where it is intended to. For example, for flows, if you see a remote to remote direction, it means that the source was remote as well as the destination too was remote. If you look carefully, this scenario is not possible and hence remote to remote flows should be investigated and then your network hierarchy should be updated. Let us look at the options available in network hierarchy. The first part consists of introductory videos on network hierarchy and how to define it. It is a good learning material if you are not aware about network hierarchy. The second option is where we see the defined network hierarchy. As ours is a test environment, we have defined just one network group called critical server group. Based on this group, we can have different rules defined. The third option is to check the remote to remote events. As discussed before, this helps us to understand the gaps in our network hierarchy. There are many filters available here to search for R2R rules. You can use these filters and look at these events and then change the network hierarchy. The fourth option is to explore rules. The rules can be checked from this screen, and if they need some modification, it can be done using the rule wizard, which is available here. The fourth option available to tune QRadar is to review your building blocks. We have discussed about the building blocks in detail in other videos in this series. Once you click, you will see introductory videos on how to populate building blocks with the right information on host definitions. If you observe closely, you will see some of the host definitions are marked in red. This indicates that the host definition might need some rework. Let us look at the database servers. It has defined IP addresses or IP address range on the right hand side, as well as it has defined ports for it. Now let us look at the host definition. Here we see that the app has some tuning findings for us. It says that the host definition only includes the default IP address, which is 127.0.0.2. We have not added details of our database servers here. This would not be helpful because this building block, when used with other rules, would not give the right result as the database server details have not been defined. Moving further, you can see the test definition where it is being used. In the last tab, we see host reference to show us the reference to the host definition. Here in this case, it would be database server IP addresses. The last tuning option is to analyze the inactive rules. If a rule has not triggered in a certain time, it could very well be misconfigured, or you might not be hitting a particular security use case. It is highly recommended that you tune such rules. Keeping a rule enabled adds a computational load for each and every event which is being parsed and correlated by QRadar. So, if you want to keep any rule active, ensure that it is tuned. Once you click on it, you will see the last tuning option is to analyze the inactive rules. If a rule has not triggered in a certain time, it could very well be misconfigured, or you might not be hitting a particular security use case. It is highly recommended that you tune such rules. Keeping a rule enabled adds a computational load for each and every event which is being parsed and correlated by QRadar. So if you want to keep any rule active, ensure that it is tuned well. Once you click on it, you may see the number of inactive rules in our environment. In our case, we do not have any rule which is not active in the past week. You can very well go ahead and change the parameters here from past week to say past month and apply filters. When you apply filter, you will get a list of rules which has been inactive over a period of time, and in our case, which is a past month. That was all related to tuning home. Now let us look at the tuning finding report. This is a report generated by UCM app to inform the analyst that tuning is required for the rules, and corresponding reasons for tuning are also mentioned. For example, the first rule that we are about to look is about orphaned building blocks. This means that the building block that is present here has not been used by any other rule. The second option that we are looking at shows that conditions in the rule are not numbered correctly. Ideally, the most performance intensive test should be the last condition in a rule. But in this particular rule, it may not be the case, and hence the suggestion has been given. If you look at the next option, you will see that UCM has suggested about host definitions using default values. This is exactly what we had seen for the database servers. In short, this is a consolidated report for UCM that the analyst can directly work on. We highly recommend that every quarter you should look at the UCM tuning features and make changes accordingly. Hope you liked this video. Thank you.